Hi everybody and a big welcome back to cEDH TV Gameplays. Me, Pontus and Jordan as usual, this time joined by Keith.
Today, once again, I am playing Bluefarm. I've been playing a lot of Magic lately, and this deck is just real good and pretty straightforward. So we're doing that.
So I'm playing the good deck in those colors, Breya. No, but it's a different take on Sunscreen where you're more Mardu-centric, focusing on things like Necro and the flash effects, because Breya is an artifact.
Hi everyone, I'm here playing Xanathar. This is a deck I built a while ago and was very happy with. I have updated it a little bit, made it slightly more hostile to tutors, and here I am trying to win in the early game, get crushed in the middle game, or try and win in the late game.
And I'm gonna create a late game and also win the late game. I'm playing Ellivare of the Wild Court. This is a Celestia version of Venota, where we're gonna get a lot of creatures and make those creatures really big with our commander, but we can also natural order into a Greater Hoof Behemoth or just use Elish Norn to overrun our opponents. And with that, let's take a look at some opening hands.
Okay, hold up. This hand gives us turn 1 Adnos, so we go Ancient Tomb, play Mana Crypt, that. Yep, alright, we got turn 1 Adnos. We're keeping.
I don't like this first 7. You need a mana dork or a form of acceleration, and we only have 1 land, so this is super risky, so we're going down to first mulligan. This is perfect, I think. So we have anti-search, we have anti-ETB, and anti-ETB again, and we have a turn 1 mana dork, so I think we're gonna definitely keep this. I really like that we have Hashwing Gryff and even Mind Sensor both with flash, which means that I don't need to do anything on turn 2, just put a second land into play, pass turn, and then interact depending on what we need. But anti-ETB is very key, because Fazes, Dockside, Gilded Drake, things like that are very common inside this format. We need to draw into a second land, but we can, in desperate measures, use crop rotation to gain Gaia's Cradle, and from there we will accelerate into our commander. But this is a perfect hand. It's not the best, but this is a good hand.
Alright, first 7. Let's see. Oh, I would really like this hand if it had blue. Taxian Probe, no tutors, also hostile tutors, tutor win. I think we can do better. Alright, 1 land. Card draw, 1 land. Turn 1 play fish. Second turn, fish probably dies and play vault. Oh no, turn 1 Verdant Catacombs into Monovault, into Arcane Signet, into fish. Yeah, I think this is actually a playable hand, and halfway to the Isochron combo, plus a Limb Duel's Vault, that makes infinite. Yeah, this is, and this gives more card draw. Yeah, this is super keepable.
Let's draw starting 7. So on first look through, I was about to actually pitch this out, because it felt like it just didn't get there. We could like turn 1 Align Tutor for Mana Crypt, and then gamble for Rustic, but our land doesn't cast Rustic, so that doesn't work. Then I realized, this is a Necropotence deck. This is turn 1 Necropotence. That's pretty good. I'm gonna keep that. So, yeah, that turned out pretty well. Pre-game, I'll put in a Gemstone Caverns, exiling a Snap.
Alright, let's start the game by drawing a card. Excellent. Okay, we're going to start off with an Ancient Tomb. We're going to tap Ancient Tomb, taking 2, send 1 for a Mana Ball.
Going to my turn, drawing a card. I'm gonna put this Bountiful Promenade into play, tap it for a green, to cast a Fyndhorn Elves, and then I pass the turn.
Alright, we draw. I will play a Verdant Catacomb. I will attempt to crack it. I will go get an Underground Sea. Shuffle. I will attempt to resolve a Mana Vault. I will tap it. I will attempt to resolve an Arcane Signet. I will tap it, and I will play everyone's favorite fish.
In response to fish, I'll tap Gemstone Caverns for white to cast a Enlighten Tutor. Enlighten Tutor resolves, putting a Necropotence on top.
And I will pass the turn.
Take my turn. Land for turn is a Scrub Land. Tap 2 for a Cabal Ritual. Not paying for fish. Cabal Ritual resolves, I'll make 3 black, and use them to cast a Necropotence. Once again, not paying for fish. Necropotence resolves. I would like to pay a measly 8 into Necro in my end step. Those 8 cards will go to my hand, and I would like to move to cleanup. I will discard a Ragavan, a Savins, and a Yogwill to my cleanup, and then my turn is over.
Okay, go to my turn. Wonderful. We'll play this Morphic Pool. We'll tap it for a black, cast a Dark Ritual. You can draw for fish, and tap my Mana Vault for 3. Spend 3 colorless and 2 black to cast Adnos. You can draw again for fish. Alrighty, Adnos resolves. Wonderful. We got a scrub land, we got a mental misstep, we got a mana confluence, we got a source of plowshares, we got the One Ring, we have a force of negation, we have a flooded strand, we have a Ristic Study, we have an Imperial Seal, Plateau, Odawara, Lotus Petal, Talisman of Indulgence, Windswept Teeth, Time Twister, Ragavan, Arid Mesa, Toxic Deluge, Miscast, Pact Negation, Mystical Tutor, Verdant Catacombs, Bergi, Luda Delta, Esper Sentinel, Mana Crypt, Underground Sea, Diabolic Intent. That was a not great Adnos. Alright, we're going to start off by playing Lotus Petal, not paying for fish. We're going to sack Lotus Petal for a red, and tap Ancient Tomb for 2 to cast a Bergi. Alright, next we're going to play a Mana Crypt, gaining a red off Bergi. We're going to spend that red
Fish
to
trigger.
cast fish. You may draw a fish. Off the red we gain from Bergi, we're going to cast a Ragavan. Okay, we have a black left over from our Dark Ritual, so we're going to spend that black and red to cast Diabolic Intent, sacking Ragavan. You may draw a fish. Diabolic Intent resolves. Get our Underworld Mystery card. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to tap Mana Crypt for 2 colorless, and then cast Talisman of Dominance, gaining a red. So now we have 2 red to cast our Underworld Breach, gaining us another red. You will be drawing off fish every time.
Keith, do you have anything?
Not for this particular situation, unfortunately. Not that kind of a deck is the best way I can phrase it.
Alright, so we're going to tap it black, off our Talisman, recast the Diabolic Intent from our graveyard.
I have a response. Oh, Diabolic Intent. Sorry, I was expecting a different card. Never mind. Continue.
Okay, so sacking Bergi, our mystery card was in fact a Lion's Eye Diamond. Alright, I'm going to crack Lion's Eye Diamond. We're going to spend our red and 2 black, so 1 black floating to recast Bergi. Okay, after Bergi, we will recast Lion's Eye Diamond, gaining a red, and then we will sack Lion's Eye Diamond once again for 3 blue. Then we are going to spend our black and our red to recast Diabolic Intent, sacrificing our Bergi, gaining a red. Our mystery card was Brain Freeze. I'm going to cast Brain Freeze on myself.
Well, I've got 17 cards in my hand and nothing to do, so I guess you got it.
Okay, so I can cast Lion's Eye Diamond enough times that I can cast Brain Freeze enough times that with the Storm count to mill out all of my opponents so they have 0 cards in their library, and then I will cast Wheel of Fortune and making them draw, and in the rules of Magic, that makes you lose the game. So get good, I win.
So that was rather fast. How about game 2?
Okay, well, my luck is going really well today. We got a turn 2 win first game, and we get to go first again the second game. So let's do our first mulligan. This hand is almost good if we had a land, but we do not. Would we have gotten the land? No, we wouldn't, so good for us. This hand also does nothing. This hand also does nothing. This hand is good enough. So we're keeping 5. So we're probably bottoming Toxic Deluge and the One Ring, because we're not casting that in. Actually, no, that draws us cards. We don't need Brain Freeze. Alright, we got our starting 5.
Draw a first 7. This hand is close-ish since we have the Vamp Tutor and some mana, but it's basically just a turn 2 heuristic, which is fine, but no permanent mana, so I think we can do better. So this hand is kind of interesting. I think I'm actually keeping it, which feels weird. So Mons is on a stacks list. When you're playing stacks, it's very important to mulligan for early impactful stacks. So wheeling stacks decks is often very favorably impactful for your deck. I don't really know what Keith's deck does, but wheeling him turn 0 is pretty good as well. And Jordan, units going before me, wheeling him might be in his favor. But also wheeling here does discard my Necro. I do have Savins for it, so it's not like Necro is gone, but it's a bit awkward, which is why I'm considering not keeping this as a turn 1 wheel, because it's just Chromox as permanent mana. I think I'm in a favorable enough position to actually do this though, so I am going to keep this, but I'm not completely sold on it. So let's see if I get punished or if it works out for me. If the wheel is weak, I might just die. We'll see.
Alright, so we've got Orcish Bowmasters, Force of Despair, Dick to stop top deck tutors, a way to get to 2 mana, and Mana Vault again. Yeah, I think this is actually kind of keepable because this can handle most stuff, and this will kill an errant Bergie if necessary. I think we keep this, yeah.
We're last. That's sad. We don't have a single land. That's sad. Go to second 7. We have a... Yeah, it's... The previous hand we had were better. I do think Manglehorn is fine. Manglehorn is actually pretty decent. So with this we have a turn to Manglehorn. We also have a Silence. Silence is pretty good. I would like to see Hushbringer or even Mind Sensor. Those are usually stronger, but Manglehorn is pretty secured. If I draw into a second land, we have a Commander turn 3, and then we attack with Manglehorn and draw a card from Commander turn 3. So this is fine. We have 2 lands, so it feels kind of safe. We could go lower, but I'm actually gonna stop on this. Manglehorn will usually do the work. And with that, let's start game 2.
We are going to fetch for a Underground Sea. We'll tap Underground Sea to cast a Soul Ring, cast a Lotus Petal, and we will pass the turn.
Go to my turn. Land turn will be a Bloodstain Mire, which I will fetch. I'll then cast a Chromox, imprinting a Path to Exile. I'll cast a Rite of Flame. Rite of Flame makes 2 mana. I'll tap for a 3rd and cast a Wheel.
I have no response to the wheel.
I have a response, cry, and then I pass.
Think we want the wheel because we can get our 1 ring next turn, and like these cards are good. But also having a new 7 when we only have 3 cards in hand also feels good. I get the benefit of the wheel before Qantas does, so I think we're going to be okay with the wheel.
Wheel of Fortune resolves. Post wheel, I will cast a Mox Diamond, pitching a Misty Rainforest. I'll tap Mox Diamond to cast a Esper Sentinel, and then I'll pass turn.
Draw, just play Urza Saga, and it moves to step 1, and I will pass the turn.
So normally when I'm wheeled, I'm dead afterwards because I usually don't get anything. We actually got something, so Windswept Heath. Now I did discard Savannah to that wheel, so we're gonna find Temple Garden, shock it into play, and cast a Delighted Halfling. I'm very delighted about that, and then I pass the turn.
Okay, let's go to our next turn and draw a card. Great. I'm going to cast this Scalding Tarn. Crack it. We'll get ourselves a Tundra. We're going to tap Underground Sea and Soul Ring to cast Heuristic Study. I will pay for the Esper Sentinel trigger and then pass the turn.
Go to my turn. I will tap 2 mana for a Wishclaw Talisman, not paying for a stick. Wishclaw resolves, and I will pass my turn.
Alright, untap all that stuff, add a counter to Urza Saga. I think we play Underground Sea. I think I pass there.
Untap and draw. Marsh Flats, land drop, sacrifice that immediately. I'm gonna find a basic plains. I'm gonna cast this creature. This is a card draw effect. Whenever an enchantment comes into play, I get to draw a card, but from here, I pass the turn. I cannot pay for Heuristic Study, sadly.
We're going to play this Exotic Orchard. We're going to tap 5 mana and cast our Chrome. And then we're going to punch Pontus in the face for 4.
No blocks, take 4.
And with that, I will pass the turn.
In your end step, I would like to tap Mox Diamond to cast a Mystical Tutor, not paying for Heuristic Study. I will find a Windfall. Then I'll go to my turn. I will pay 1 to activate Wishclaw Talisman. Then I will pay 2 mana to cast a Dockside, not paying for Heuristic.
I will crack my Lotus Petal for a blue in response.
Dockside resolves, and I will make 4 treasures. I will then move to combat. I will pass through combat. I guess I can attack Jordan for 1 in combat, because we can.
I'll take 1 damage.
Post-combat Mayface, I'll pay 3 mana to cast a Windfall, not paying Heuristic Study and Chrome triggers.
In response, I'm going to Chain of Vapor the Heuristic Study, because I would like that not to be in our hands afterward. I would like to not see that anymore. Yeah, and I will pay for Heuristic Study.
Yeah, I will return my Heuristic to my hand.
Pontus, you said my deck does nothing. In response to your Windfall, I'm gonna Solitude your Esper Sentinel. Go away.
After my Esper Sentinel gets mercilessly exiled, I will resolve my Windfall. Since Jordan has 12 cards in his hand, we will all discard our hands and draw 12. Exciting. Then I will play Spy of Industry as land for turn. I will cast a Mana Crypt. So here we have several lines. We drew in through Sevin's Reclamation with our Necro in graveyard, but going for that line here is kind of all in still, because we have to find either Dark Writ plus one of the Artwit Flash enablers, or Simian Spirit Guide exactly, I think, to have the mana to cast Final Fortune. We have the LED, so we kind of get through it anyways, but it's awkward, basically. What we also have is a Chance for Glory, so we can take an extra turn, instant speed. We never want Jordan to untap, so it's not the best play, because Blade Jordan will get to untap, but I still think it might be our best play to just play Fish and pass here. We have a Wishclaw activation next turn, which is probably finding something of relevance, probably something that triggers Remora, based on what cards are relevant to this format. We have Tainted Pact with LED to like force things. We could very well just try to force here as well, because we do have Tainted Pact LED still here, so we could take, or just mana, so we could just go for a Breacher with LED and Brain Freeze's Graveyard. And I think this window is pretty good. I'm not sure if our windows get better over time. And actually speaking about it, I think they get worse, but Tainted Pacting is kind of risky. So it's a 50-50. Yeah, it's no risk. We'll just go for it. If it fails, it fails. I think this is the right call for us. Let's see. Take 1 damage, floaty colorless, cast a Tainted Pact.
I will respond with a Force Negation, exiling a Miscast.
No response. Tainted Pact is exiled. That's pretty much the best alternative for us. Post that getting exiled, I will crack a treasure to cast a Mystic Remora resolves, and I will move to cleanup, discarding this fetch land.
Okay, so we've been wheeled a lot. Can only assume we're going to get wheeled again. I think the best thing to do is to hold up mana because of the fish, wait till someone won't pay, and then just Notion Thief them, rather than try and go for anything else. And I can just get a Soul Ring off of my Saga. So I think that's the right move this turn, and then possibly go for the win next turn using Praetor's Spur. Something I've drawn. False fails, I can tell the Talent of the Telepath. I can figure it out from there. I think that is my best move though. Untap, all that stuff. Tap this for a colorless, and then it'll sacrifice itself. I will acquire a Soul Ring, shuffle, and then I will play Island, and I will pass the turn. I'll be discarding Sakashima, Toxic Deluge, Scalding Tarn, Necropotent, and Dramatic Reversal.
Untap and draw a card. I'm gonna play a Jeweled Lotus. Fish can draw a card.
In response to the draw, I'm going to cast a Notion Thief. A Notion Thief resolves.
Guess I'm not drawing with fish.
Now that Notion Thief is actually quite annoying, because as you can see on my commander, that ability is not a May ability. Now it is actually kind of good to buff up my creature board state. On the other hand, I'm kind of feeding Dockside, so it's a good argument not to do that. But me putting my commander into play and putting enchantments on my creatures means Keith draws cards. On the other hand, I mean, I could punch everything I have at Keith, but I kinda rather delay that and put more creature stuff into play instead. Land drop, Prismatic Vista, sacrifice that, finding a snow-covered forest, tapping that for a Sol Ring. This is my second spell this turn, which means that Crom will trigger. Now Crom is not a May, so he has to draw a card, which means that Notion Thief draws a card. I'm gonna cast an Elvish Mystic, and then I'm gonna follow up with a Rule of Law, Eidolon of Rhetoric. Eidolon resolves, and I get to draw a card, which I can't deny because it's not a May on my enchanted creature here, so that Notion Thief will draw a card. I still put a counter on this creature, and we have a Rule of Law in play, which is kinda good, and from here I pass the turn.
Alrighty, there is a lot of stuff going on that I don't like. So we're going to start off by cracking this Misty Rainforest for a Volcanic Island. We're going to tap Underground Sea and Soul Ring, and I'm going to pay 4 life, a Toxic Deluge.
In response, I cast Force of Will. I will exile a... Well, I don't need this card anymore, so Talent of the Telepath.
Oh, there's Eidolon in play, I can't do anything. So I will put Toxic Deluge in my graveyard, and then we will punch Keith for 4.
I have no response. I take 4 to the face.
I will pass the turn.
Untap, upkeep, roll for crypt, odds damage, roll the 5, take 3. Fish trigger, and fish can die. Draw for turn. Land for turn will be a Tundra. Then I will tap 4 to cast my commander, Breya. Breya resolves, and I will make 2 Thopters. And that's my spell for turn, so I will just pass the turn.
Alright, untap, do all that stuff. I am going to play a Verdant Catacombs, and I will crack it. I will go get a Shockland, and I'll shock it in. Can someone remind me what this Shockland is?
Watery Grave.
Couldn't remember. Alright, now that's I get one spell this turn. That is an interesting thing. For my one spell this turn, I will attempt to resolve Heuristic Study. Alright, and with that, I will pass the turn.
Untap and draw a card. I can make people love me more. I'm going to cast this Grand Abolisher legendary creature, paying for Heuristic Study.
I will cast an Enlightened Tutor in response. I'll pay for Heuristic. I'll find a card. I will get a Dress Down.
Cool, legendary Grand Abolisher resolves. Now I don't like the part where my creatures are gonna get dressed down, so they're gonna have a say about it first. I'm attacking Jordan for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage.
I'll take 5.
And I pass turn.
Draw my card. Oh my god, who saw that coming? We will tap Soul Ring and Tundra to cast Dress Down. I'll pay with the extra Soul Ring. Because Notion Thief's trigger goes on the stack as Dress Down resolves, it loses all its abilities before the draw trigger would happen, so I get to draw my card. We'll tap 2 for a Talisman of Dominance. You can draw off Heuristic. I'll cast Lion's Eye Diamond. I'll pay for that one. And I will cast a Mana Vault, and you can draw off that one. And then I will hit Keith again for 4.
I will take the 4.
Alright, and in my turn, I will sacrifice Dress Down and pass the turn.
In your end step, Jordan, I will pay 2 mana to sacrifice 2 Thopters to kill the Eidolon Rhetoric.
It's dead. Clearly my creatures are important for you to kill, so they are doing something. That's my translation.
Untap, Upkeeper of Crypt, odds damage. Roll a 2, no damage. Draw for turn. Land for turn will be a City of Brass. I will tap Mana Crypt for 2 and Chromox for a white to cast a Sevin's Reclamation targeting my Necropotence. Sevin's resolves, brings back my Necro. I will pay 26 life into Necro. I would like to go to my end step and trigger Necropotence.
Alright, during the end step, before all the Necro triggers resolve, I will attempt to Vampiric Tutor. Alright, and I will tutor a mystery card to the top of my deck. I'm going to put this mystery card on top of my deck. Oh no.
My hand got big. I will pay 2 mana to cast a Born Upon the Wind, not paying for a stick. A Crown will also trigger, and Keith will draw 1 extra card.
In response, I will try to Flusterstorm that.
In response to Flusterstorm, I will cast the spell I should have led with, which is a Silence, not paying for a static.
I will Counterspell War you and Mental Misstep that.
I will respond to that by Monkey Blasting the Mental Misstep. Not paying for a stick.
I will Pact a Negation the Silence.
We missed a trigger, Crom trigger, I draw a card because he triggers off of me and Notion Thief steals it.
In response to all of this, I will take a damage to cast a Dramatic Reversal.
Draw a card.
Dramatic Reversal resolves. I will untap my 3 Monarchs. I will pass on Pact, will counter Silence. Red Blast will fizzle or whatever. And then in response to Fluster, I will float a Colorless to cast a Cabal Ritual, paying for a stick with my floating. Cabal Ritual resolves, makes 5 black. Then I will pay 4 for the Flusterstorm. Born Upon the Wind resolves, and Keith may draw a card. I'll cast a Lotus Petal, not paying for Ristic. I'll crack Lotus Petal, use my black floating, casting a Breach. Ristic may draw. Breach resolves. I'll tap a white to cast the Silence from my graveyard, exiling Born Upon the Wind, Mystic Remora, and a land. Not paying for a stick.
No response.
So Silence resolves, which means I'm home free to do stuff. I will cast LED from my hand, and in my graveyard I have a Brain Freeze. So here I can loop LED and Brain Freeze to mill through my library. From there, I'll cast Oryx Salvagers. Oryx Salvagers with LED, I will also use a Soul Partition to exile the Ristic because that matters for this loop. This loop means I crack LED for 3 whites. I use 2 of them to return it to my hand and recast it, netting 1 white with this loop. So this way I can make infinite mana. With infinite mana, I can activate Breya a bunch, but to make all the commons happy, I'll just cast this Thassa's Oracle instead and win the game. Thassa's Oracle ability B, I have no cards in library, so I win the game. Good game.
So this was a pretty good showcase. I mean, one super fast game ended before everyone except Jordan had a turn 2. which is something that happens. And then you have a longer game. I mean, sometimes you have these super fast games and then you have these long drawn out games. Hard to find those in between.
Yeah, it's funny though, because we call this a long game, but it ended turn 5.
That's long.
Turn 5 doesn't sound long, and I think many people aren't aware of turn 5 being a long game.
Yeah.
I think the average game length is like 3 to 4.
Yeah, it is.
And that's something you need to be aware of when playing as well, honestly.
I don't think we have that many 3 to 4 games. I mean, a lot of our games that we play here ends on 2 to 3, or they go to 6 and 7.
Yeah, but we also don't really play representative of the like average cEDH tournament
I mean,
meta.
true. I mean, I'm playing something kind of wonky today, so to say. I mean, I think, or Keith, what do you think? Is your deck like?
This deck does really bad around like turn 3 and 4 usually, so if I can't win very quickly, I'm trying to drag it to turn 5, 6, and 7 because Xanathar will just get me the advantage to win. So yeah. But this is a land of jank, and I'm aware of that. It is not representative of the meta, especially any deck you see me playing on here. Definitely any deck I play on here.
I was set up pretty nicely to draw a bunch of cards and go into the mid game and run away with the game, but the Notion Thief really hurt. And then not being able to kill everything with the Toxic Deluge really hurt. And then I was kind of out of it after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I didn't have interaction in my Windfall hand, I just assumed that if I'm not able to win on this turn, I'm just gonna die. So I was just gonna try to win. The fact that you countered my Tainted Pact was actually kind of lucky for me, because then I didn't cast my Breach and had the mana to cast the Remora. Notion Thief didn't really help the Remora though, but I got to cast it.
Yeah, I killed your fish in one rotation. It was delightful. It only costs 4 mana and the fish is dead.
This deck did not get a game going at all. It feels like I could have casted my commander actually, but I didn't want to give Notion Thief card draw there, so I decided not to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think I would have started to like establish. But a big problem what I can see with this kind of deck, and I think these games kind of showcase that, and I'm glad to showcase that, is that it takes a little bit, even though this commander is like very oppressive in casual, like it puts an enormous board state into play and it starts punching really hard. It can do that, but in the, just like we showcased here, this game ended on turn 5. It needs more turns to build up that critical mass, basically.
We should at least throw a bone to the fact that you and I both got wheeled before we got to play our initial hand.
True.
So
yes, that is true.
That's a huge deal.
Honestly though, like my first hand was something equal to what my wheel became, what I wheeled into. So I agree with you, but I don't think in this case it would have mattered that much.
Yeah, your commander might just ride in that weird middle ground where it can be a little bit too strong for most casual tables, but like it's not quite the cEDH. And those are interesting decks to play because you get to see what they do. They tend to lag behind, but they're still very cool to see.
Yeah. I've actually had games with this commander where it gets to do its cool thing and punch hard and dominate, but there's always something helping me, I would say, getting there. Like there's a counter War of Force of Will or something happened in the game that gave this deck its chance to develop, basically.
The blue players all punched each other and then fell out.
Yeah. Or let me just put it like this: if this deck becomes the arch enemy and everyone decides, okay, we're just gonna interact and deal with that, this deck will never get anywhere. But if this deck puts down like one counter spell, or one stacks piece, and then there's a tiny counter war and no one is winning, then it usually gets going. But there are also a lot of cards, I guess. If that Toxic Deluge would have resolved, I would lose everything here and be even worse off.
Thank you for everyone for watching. If you liked what you see, please subscribe to his channel or become a Patreon. He's an awesome person.
Thanks, Keith. Take care, guys. See you around.